the midwives kept saying to me, you might have read the books, but he hasn't. And he was so tired. He just wanted to sleep all the time. And I remember the midwife had us put on water, like cool water on his head to try and wake him up to feed. He just wasn't interested in it at all. And so the first few weeks were a bit iffy. Um, he didn't come out and latch on, and then that was that at all, which surprised me. I knew that breastfeeding could be tricky, but I just thought because I'd done all of the preparation and had some, understanding of the theory behind it, that we'd make it work. But it was really difficult. He lost about nine and a bit percent, and they kind of, once you get to about 10% loss, they get a bit worried. So they did put us on a feeding schedule where we had to wake him up and feed him every 2 hours, for 48 hours, which was tiring. But that seemed to do the trick. And he was quite a big, he wasn't massive, but he was 8'10" born. So I think had he been a really small baby, it would have been much more worrying and alarming, and we might have maybe had to think about formula or supplementing. But because he was a bit of a chunk, it felt like we had the time. I think I was eager to, be able to tick that off of, yeah, we've got breastfeeding sorted, and I can tick that and, sort out the next thing. And it takes time. It was ages before. Even now, sometimes I think, oh, how am I doing this again? And I feel like we were so blessed that we were in Bradford, because we had the most amazing home birth team of midwives. So we really got to know our midwives. They came to the house, and it just all felt much more personal, and like they had a bit of an investment in us. And it wasn't a case of paperwork, oh, he needs to be readmitted, or he needs this. It was, let's work together and figure out how we can make this work. Like, I was completely prepared. Like, I'd heard all of these horror stories about people's experiences of maternity care, and I was armed and ready to fight for what I wanted and what we needed. But I didn't have to. Like, they really were brilliant. We were very lucky to have such a great team. Like, as soon as I said, oh, I'm a bit struggling, someone was round the next day. Like, they couldn't help enough. It was a bit different in the hospital. They were really reluctant to let us come home until he'd feed. And it was like this really loud, stuffy, hot room. And I just knew I'm not gonna be able to do it here, and he's not gonna latch on here. We ended up coming home because I knew that we had a better chance at home than we did in the hospital. The first time we did it actually was completely unplanned, because Alex was really tiny, and he was still in that phase where he just slept a lot. And so we went out to get a bit of tea with his grandparents. And as soon as we got to the place, he just woke up and was just screaming. And then I felt like a terrible parent, because I was like, I can't believe we brought such a young baby out for dinner. Like, maybe we shouldn't have. What are we thinking? And the only way to make it work was to feed him. And at that point, I was using nipple shields, and I hadn't quite got the hang of it yet. So I was all fingers and thumbs trying to put this shield on, and got the in-laws with me, and I was like, it definitely wasn't a smooth first feeding in public, but we did it, and he quite happily calmed down a bit and stuff. And when I look back, I think we always said that we didn't want to, because we had Alex and he needed feeding and things like that, we didn't want that to completely mean we can't ever leave the house. So it was important for us that we did go out and get some dinner and take Alex with us and start adjusting to the new way. But in the moment, I felt terrible. I've been completely prepared to have to, challenge problems that you might face with like breastfeeding in public, and I've just had no problems at all. It's been, and I think maybe the last few years there's been a shift because I've got friends who've, you know, really struggled and with comments from people when they've been out and things like that. We've had a very positive experience. You definitely notice a lot of people deliberately not making eye contact or looking anywhere in your vicinity. Like really, oh wow, look how blue the sky is today, because they're really conscious. But I mean, you know, it's whatever people need to do. I think it seems really generic, but from a breastfeeding point of view, I would say try to be patient with yourself. I wasn't, I just wanted it to work straight away. And it did work in the end, but there was a few weeks where I was really stressed out and putting a lot of pressure. So I think maybe just to kind of take a breath, be patient, and not be as pressured. I think parenting in general, it would, for me, it would be all about find a local group, make some mum friends. It will make everything easier. If you find another like-minded mum with a baby a similar age, it's a game changer. And I think that's been the thing that's kind of kept us sane when you are on your own at home with a baby. And I guess this would be for the guys as well, when, you know, we've got a friend who's shared maternity with her husband, and like you can go a bit stir crazy with just a baby for company, you know. So finding a group and some like-minded mums, game changer.